So, this is the podcast overview for Chapter 1 of your Health Psychology textbook by Serafino and Smith. And the purpose of this podcast is really just to go over the objectives that you'll be needing to understand for this chapter. So, each one of these objectives that I have here are zoning in on key points for the chapter. So it's a good idea to even take this, print it out, have it next to you while you're reading, so you're making sure you're understanding these key points. You could also use it as a study guide when it comes time for the test. Some students will copy and paste this into a Word document, and then underneath each question, they'll write in their answers and kind of use it as a study guide. So that's an idea as well. So let's dive in and take a look at what you're going to be learning in Chapter 1. Really, it is an overview of the intersection between psychology and health. So it's really outlining the discipline, the sub area of health psychology within the APA, American Psychological Association. So it's going to start out by talking about what is the field of health psychology, how did it get started. We cover a little bit of the history there, and we'll get more in depth as we go here, but how did it emerge as its own field? You'll also be looking at a big portion of the chapter, towards the end actually, is the research methods in health psychology. So every discipline within psychology, every subdiscipline has its own ways of measuring and assessing the aspects of its discipline. Running studies might be done differently depending upon the aims of the discipline and what a researcher is wanting to know. So in the research methods, the book covers true experiments, experimental studies, correlational studies, as well as prospective and retrospective studies, so looking back or looking forward in time. Longitudinal research, which is actually a great example of this, is your longevity project. Your longevity book is a longitudinal study design. And then also cross-sectional research. These are the types of methodological designs that you're going to see the most in health psychology. So you want to understand what each design entails. What is a correlational study? What key elements are involved there? What's an experiment? What is a cross-sectional study? And these are all outlined in the chapter. Then you'll turn to health. What is a good definition of health today? How do we know it? How do we see it? What is the illness-wellness continuum, which is actually how we think of health as being somewhere on a continuum of healthy or well. There isn't really ill or not ill. A person could technically be ill. They could have an illness, but feel fairly well. And so we tend to think of illness on a continuum or wellness on a continuum. And then we'll dive into, here's where we get a little more into the history of what was health psychology birthed out of. So we'll talk about the bodily humors. These are very archaic ideas, if you will, of how the body operated and what it meant. So back before we had microscopes and high-tech imaging and ways of examining the human body, people were pretty much guessing at what might be wrong with a person when they were ill. And so depending upon what came out of you, bile or blood, might be indicative of something that was wrong with you. And that's the idea there. We'll talk about dualism and monoism. These are basically ideas about how we look at health and how we look at the body and the mind. So we're going to get into some philosophy. I'm going to bring up Descartes and Hippocrates. These were early philosophers that had a lot to say about medicine and health before it was even a discipline. Some argued that the mind and the body were totally separate entities. That's dualism. And some argued that no, they're very intricately connected, and that's monoism. But knowing and understanding what that all means is important. Then we'll look at the difference between illness and disease. Why are sometimes these terms used interchangeably, and how is that not good? These are two distinct areas, so we'll look at that. How has illness changed from the past to today? So how did we used to think about illnesses versus how do we think of them today? How do we treat them today and deal with them today? You'll see some early work in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance period of how illness was treated. Again, doesn't have a great past or a great history in terms of medicine. So health psychology was birthed out of the medical field. It is a branch off of medicine where it intersects psychology, right? So you'll take a look at some of these very antiquated ideas. Nonetheless, they're what brought us to how we view illness today. The difference between the biopsychosocial and biomedical models of health. Today, we subscribe to a biopsychosocial model of health. It's an all-encompassing model of how we view a person. The biological elements, the psychological, and the social. We know that all three of those factors play a big role in the health of a person. Whereas it used to be the biomedical model was the primary model. It was medicine, facts, tests, results, what you could visually see going on with the body. That only gets us so far because as we know, your mind is related to what your body does. If you're stressed out, you get sicker more. Well, there's a huge connection between stress you feel, the emotions you experience, and how those manifest in a physical way in your body, like loss of sleep or diet or becoming ill. While we value the biomedical model and we understand it, we don't really use it today as a guide for how we understand people. We also know that people are complex. They have social systems and environments that contribute to their health. So we have to take that into account as well. Then we'll look at how the role of psychology in medicine emerged and really how it is a union between psychology and medicine that birthed health psychology. We'll look at identifying the person in health and illness, and I have that in quotes because sometimes we like to think of a person as just their illness, we say things like, we hear this all the time in the hospital. Oh, can you take a look at the appendix issue in room 3? Well, the appendix issue is a person. They have a name. They have other issues going on with them. So, the person, so to speak, has kind of gotten lost a lot in healthcare. We forget that even though a person might be in a doctor's office presenting with, heart pains or trouble breathing, that's the medical part. That's kind of what their symptoms are and what they're complaining of. But they might also be going through divorce or just lost a loved one. And so there might be some psychosocial concerns that are contributing to that illness. And so we really have to look at those in order to understand the complete and full picture of the person. We'll also look at the ways in which personality influences our health. And this is an objective for Chapter 1 because it talks a little bit about it in Chapter 1, but honestly, your longevity book is all about this objective. Your longevity book is looking at traits and personality, among other things, that influence your health over one's lifespan. So this is a huge kind of carve out that we'll be looking at in the longevity project. You'll also want to be familiar with the types of settings that health psychologists work in. If you are a health psychologist, what kind of degree do you have? Where might you be working? You'll see a variety of settings. And people who go into health psychology, sometimes they have a psych background and sometimes they have a medical background. clinical psych background. So it depends and it varies. So we'll take a little bit of a look at that. And then understanding lifespan and gender perspectives and studying health. These are some things we want to take into account when looking at health of individuals. The lifespan perspective is pretty important. And that's why I love to use the Longevity Project, because it's looking at literally the lifespan of over 2,000 individuals for over 6 decades of their life, from birth to death for most of them. So that's a pretty full span of time that gives us a wealth of information that we can draw from about the associations between health and life factors. And then lastly, just be able to explain the related fields to health psychology. So things like epidemiology and medical sociology and psychoneuroimmunology. There's a lot of ologies. They're all loosely related and tied to health psychology. We draw a lot from these areas in health psych research. So just understanding what each of these kind of give to health psychology. What role do they play? What piece do they give to the puzzle of understanding health psych a little bit better? Okay, so that's it for your objectives for Chapter 1. Of course, please definitely email me if you have further questions about any of these, or you're getting stuck and need some help or need some more just clarification on any of them. I would be glad to do that.